Okay, call the council meeting to order at 7 p.m. Please stand and join me in a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Withers, would you kindly read the notice of tonight's special meeting?
November 6, 2019, to the members of the Municipal Council from Mark J. Cooper, Council President. Councilors, by authority of Article 2, Section 2-7C of the Attleboro Home Rule Charter, I hereby call a special meeting of the Municipal Council as follows. Tuesday, November 12, 2019, at 7 p.m. in Council Chambers. The purpose is to discuss and vote the tax classification percentage of the local tax levy to be borne by each class of property for fiscal year 2020 and any other legal matters requiring attention. This notice is in place of the original with the date of November 19, 2019. Sincerely, Mark J. Cooper, Council President, CC Mayor Paul Haley.
Thank you. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to suspend the rules.
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order. The purpose of suspending the rules this evening is we are going to enter into recess, and the Budget Committee is going to go first, and then the rest of the committees will follow in the order of the agenda. We will then come back to the special meeting where we will recognize one and only one committee at that time, which will be the Budget Committee, to vote tax classification and the factor. Any questions regarding the process tonight? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are operating under suspended rules. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to recess.
Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. We are in recess 7:02.
I'd like to call budget appropriations to order at 7:02. Before we get into tax classification, I have two quick pieces of business. From the docket of November 19th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $8,384.43 from account 1124100-5783000, Citywide Reserve Fund for transfer, to account 1541100-5588015, Council on Aging new computers, regarding the needs for funds to replace 9 computer hard drives for the senior center staff.
Second.
Thank you, Council Conti. This one's pretty self-explanatory. Any other questions, thoughts, comments?
They're gonna get, hard drives, solid state hard drives.
Say that again?
Solid state hard drives, is that what they're looking for? Let's just assume that they are, because I don't think you can get a mechanical drive anymore.
Yeah, no, it's a little outside my,
It's okay.
I can use Microsoft Excel pretty well. Seeing it, no other questions, all those in favor? Aye. Thank you, motion passes. Second piece of business, from the docket of November 19th, 2019. I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to appropriate $15,000 from account 1000-359000, undesignated fund balance, free cash general government, to account 124-0100-582514, protective inspection building renovations, regarding the need for funds to purchase supplies to construct a wall, including a drop ceiling in the building inspector's office.
Second.
Thank you, Rick. Okay, this is a pretty good situation. Came in from Bill McDonough, and what he's looking to do, as we know that space is pretty open, wants to build a wall in between the front area and the clerk's area. This is gonna include the drop ceiling, so this will help to limit some of the interruptions that go on. The nice thing is they're gonna do all the work in-house. All they need is the materials. So they have an architect who would be willing to donate his time, obtain the building permit, and oversee the job. Council Conti.
So I won't be supporting this, because this is a very common scenario for city workers. I work in an office with 5 people. The noise is incredible. So we had headphones for our phones, and we have headphones for our computers to deal with the noise. $15,000 is $15,000, and I'd like to see Plan B. That would be a sound deadening plan that wouldn't require such extensive changes to the space. That concludes my comments.
Thank you. Vice President Perica.
Thank you, Councilor Delacio. I have spoken at length with Mr. McDonough with regards to this. This is a plan that's been in place and approved by the administration for quite some time. They were waiting for free cash to be certified for it. This is actually a $60,000 build-out that we're getting at that incredibly discounted price because of their expertise. In addition to that, it's more than just 5 people in their office. It's, you know, the builders are coming in, there's records requests, things like that. I think it's for $15,000, we're getting quite the bang for our money. So when it comes in front of the full council, I will be supporting this.
Yeah, thank you for those comments. And Council Conti, I understand your comments as well. I mean, believe me, I work with the registry, it's wide open. I think what this is gonna do, though, is provide a little bit more of a barrier between the public and some of that other noise, where we wanna make sure that, you know, as Vice President Perica said, we do have people coming in and out. So it's not just for what the workers are going through, which is, you know, gotta be a lot too. But what I would ask is if you would support this coming out of committee tonight, so we can have the
Absolutely.
larger discussion next week. And, you know, if you haven't already, I'd recommend maybe reaching out to Bill and just kind of have him walk you through the project a little bit more. Could change your vantage point, or not.
I will be supporting it to get it out of the committee tonight. I have spent a lot of time in the building department. I know the situation
Sure.
quite well, and I'm still in my position.
Yeah, absolutely. So, any other thoughts, questions, comments? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Excellent, motion passes. On to tax classification. From the docket of October 15th, 2019, I move to adopt a dual system of classification of real estate taxation in accordance with the appropriate general laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Second.
And again, as we do every year, this first piece is to just adopt that dual classification. So,
So I think it's appropriate to say that, if I may,
you may.
that if we went to a single tax rate, which I will not support, the tax consequence to the residences would be, if you can get to it faster than me, there it is.
Well, so here's what I'd like.
$152.16.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's let go at that.
So what I would like to do, I have asked our city assessor, the chief assessor, to come tonight to answer a few questions that I know I have, and I think some other people might have. I was gonna ask her to come up for the next motion, but I think when we have the second, I will ask Julie to come up now, so we can kind of answer some of these questions all together.
You can do that. I don't think it's necessary. I think, you know, it's well known that the single tax rate would have a dramatic impact on taxes, and we've had a split tax rate since 1989.
Sure.
So I don't think this is a controversial vote.
Well, as the chair of the committee, I can invite whoever I'd like. I think that there's some other questions that will arise, so whether it's this motion or the next, it's kind of sand in the sandbox. So, President Cooper?
So it's to answer Council Conti's questions, it's $597.97 increase to the taxpayer for a single split increase to the residential, and $4,276.27 decrease to the to the commercial, according to the information provided by the assessor.
Thank you. So Julie, if you'd like to come to the podium, thank you. So what we'll do is we'll just answer some of the kind of all part and parcel, and then I think we'll go into the second motion. So Julie, thank you for everything. Thank you. As we all know, this is very cumbersome, complex. There's a lot riding on it. We're in waters that we haven't been in before with, you know, especially when you're looking at the breakdown of the residential burden versus the commercial burden. You look at the debt exclusion. So I think this year, next year are going to be really critical as to how we approach this. So I don't know if there's anything you want to just add to Council President Cooper's comments about the impact the single tax rate would have.
I would just say I wouldn't recommend going to a single tax rate
Okay.
at all at this point. I wouldn't recommend any huge jump either way, if
One way or another.
you were asking my opinion.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so before we move to the actual tax factor, what I would do is take a vote on just, again, adopting the dual system. So, before I go to the vote, while we have Julie here, I wanted everyone to have the opportunity to ask some questions as they come up, especially as we talk about the discussion as what we do with the rate, because as I said just a few moments ago, this is gonna be very important, really critical with some of the things that we have coming down the line. So, any questions on this piece of it at this point?
You just, the classification.
This is just adopting the
Split rate,
split rate, correct.
thank you.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, motion passes 3-1. From the docket of October 15th, 2019, I entertain a motion to adopt a classification factor of 1.34 for fiscal 2020.
Second.
Thank you, Rick. So this is really where the discussion, I think, in years past, has taken a little bit of a life of its own. So I asked Julie to come down to really kind of help navigate and provide fact and clarity where the conversation allows it. So what I would like is really everyone's participation in this piece while we have Julie here, so we can get the questions, get some of the discussions going. So Julie, first of all, some of the things that I've heard and just talking to people, whether it's fellow councils not on my committee, whether it's people in the public, is, we should go, from a 1.33 to a 1.36 or even higher. Can you talk a little bit about what the consequences are of making such a jump to a 1.36 or higher?
1.36 or higher, I think you're making too big of a jump too quick. You need to remember that residential is going to continue to grow. That class is going to continue to grow, and all the indicators we look at say that's the only class that's going to grow in value. We don't have anything right now for commercial coming on. So I think it's important to remember that each year now, in order to maintain that savings to the residential, you need to keep increasing that factor. If you jumped, let's say, right to 1.5, you have nowhere to go from there. So I think it's better, it's more prudent, I think, at this point, to ease in to a higher factor, to see how some of the things the council's looking into as far as changing exemptions and things like that, see how that might affect the budget, the overlay, take all of those things into consideration and essentially take baby steps to get where you want to be. Again, if you take too big of a step at once, you're not leaving yourselves a lot of room to help the residents in the future.
Okay. So the debt exclusion's first major impact's going to be felt in fiscal 2021. We're at the end of our waste management contract. I believe that's in negotiation.
Right.
So I think it's probably prudent to operate under the assumption that we'll have a rubbish rate increase. Obviously, nothing's been determined, just kind of talking about forecasting and thinking about where we're going to be. We have a lot of capital work going on right now with water and wastewater. I'm not sure how that's going to impact the rate. I don't think we know that at this point. What, in your opinion, is the best course of action to look at taking over the next 2 years as we're trying to brace for the higher impact of the debt exclusion in 2021, as we're potentially looking at how we're going to absorb higher rubbish costs, potentially higher rubbish and water and wastewater costs?
And there again, that's where I would take a more conservative approach to it, to do something for the residential class, but if you do too much, then you're kind of shifting things back to the residential in the end anyway, because you're bringing on new growth to personal property at a higher rate. That's going to depreciate right away. It's going to shift back to the residential. So I think really I would take a conservative approach, make a change. 1.36 would probably be the highest I would go. 1.34 I think is perfect. You're talking about $20 difference in savings to the residential average tax bill.
And then when we're talking about, and you hit about the impact that 1.5 would have, but when we're talking about some of the exemptions, and I know Councilor Holmes is chairing the senior abatement, and I think that's important, especially where we've all talked at one point or another how we need to look out for the seniors. Do you feel that, as you said, the probably the highest you would suggest or recommend is that 1.36 in conjunction with some of the stuff we're working on, and I know you're involved in that as well.
Right.
Do you feel that combined will give the seniors relief heading into 2021?
I do, yes. I think it's important too to think about that residential factor and the shift. The more value you have in your home, the higher assessed value you have, the more savings. A lot of our seniors aren't in the higher valued homes, so they're not seeing as much savings with the shifting of the factor. So,
And the impact in your estimation that it would have on CIP, the 1.34 and to the 1.36, what sort of impact is that going to have to the commercial, industrial, and personal property?
I believe that was about a 0.17% in the overall levy burden. It's probably about $150 or $200 increase compared to the 1.33, which is what I compared everything to because that's where we were at.
Okay. So my concern is always, you know, we want to help the residential the best that we can, especially in this environment.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I'm concerned if we just jump up to the 1.5, the impact that'll have on the businesses who do pay for, they're paying for the debt exclusion as well.
They are, right?
They're paying for services in the city, and so this is, I think, going to be one of the more challenging years that we've had. Historically, I've been one who's wanted to get and voted to get closer to the 1.25.
Right.
I really don't think that that's prudent, and I don't think it's in the best interest of the city to go quite that far. I would suggest the 1.34 kind of to start the discussion at this point, and you know, I'd like to open it up to Council Conti first as member of my committee, and then of course open to everyone else while we have to here.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I differ in opinion with you. That I think that the tax rate should be no more than 1.32, that we should move down a notch rather than up a notch. And the reason for that is because I'm not sure that you gave us the figures of how close you are to the levy ceiling.
I don't know that I provided that for you. Our levy ceiling is 125 billion though, and we're at 78.
Okay. So, where I work in the city of Taunton, we've hit the ceiling 5 years in a row. And that's the danger of going to 1.5.
Right.
And what's happening in the city of Taunton is that they have the 5th fastest growing residential tax rate in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and they have not changed their tax split since 1989.
Right.
So you see the danger there is that as you creep up to the maximum split, the levy ceiling gets hit, and you can no longer support a 1.5, and you're required by state guidance to come down to 1.48, but meanwhile, the residential burden is expanding. So for the last, I've been in city council for 10 years. For the first 5 years, 6 years of my tenure here, we tried to lower it down to 1.25.
Right.
And it was contentious every year to try to get it down to 1.25. But that's a good goal. 1.25 is a good goal for the city of Attleboro because it gives us a lot of leeway for future councilors and future crises with the residential tax base. The reality is that the people who live and own homes in the city of Attleboro have to face the fact that taxes have been going up 4% every year for the last 8 years, just like the rest of southeastern Massachusetts. That's going to continue. For the council to try to take and add a little relief at this point is far too premature. And that in light of the fact that there is a debt exclusion coming, it is more appropriate to bite the bullet now, to get it down to 1.32 before that maximum debt exclusion hits, and give us some room later on to make a change. And unfortunately, the changes we can make a little unless we go all the way to 1.5, which would be ridiculous. And that concludes my comments.
I do appreciate your comments, but I just want to stress at no point did I advocate for the 1.25.
Correct.
As a matter of fact, I talked about how historically I've been pretty vocal in going to the 1.25.
I wasn't trying to put words in your mouth.
I just wanted to make sure, because I think that this is where it can get a little contentious, and I want to make sure that we're having a
I only wanted to make my point clear that I'm supporting 1.32 and nothing higher.
fantastic. But it's interesting because you said that, you disagree with me, but you made a lot of the same points I made. So I think when we are looking at what's coming down the pipe, I think one of the biggest hits we're going to take with this debt exclusion is going to be in fiscal 2021. I don't know that it's premature to look at giving a little bit of a break. I 100% agree that we can't be handcuffing ourselves by jumping to a 1.5. I think that we'll find ourselves in a situation in a couple of years where we can start to back that down again. I think 1.36, I would struggle to go to that high. 1.34 is really where I would be comfortable going. I'd like to open it up to the rest of the councilors. President Cooper, I saw your hand first, then Councilor Blair.
Thank you. So, to Councilor Conti, Richard, the 1.32, with the debt exclusion, the average home will see a 6.45% increase in their taxes. And the commercial industrial tax increase would be 2.67 versus the 3.4, which is 6.01, so about 0.5%, just for easy math. And probably 2% higher on the commercial side at the 1.34. Did you say 132?
132.
Okay. Perfect, thank you for that clarification.
Peter.
Well, you people here and at home know how I've stood for the last 20 years on this. First of all, on the split rate, and second of all, on the businesses. And I still thoroughly believe that when people are looking to make large investments, they're looking at the tax rate. I know we're going to get hit in July. A lot of homeowners are going to get hit. The homeowners voted for the new school. Pay for what you asked for. If you drop to 1.32, which Mr. Conti suggested, if I'm doing my math right, and while you're at the table, that looks like about a $40 a year increase for the residents.
Right, it's about a 286, you mean from, sorry.
Well, actually, it's a $20 increase.
Right, from the 1.33 that we're at now,
Right,
yes,
okay.
yes.
There's a $40 difference between 1.34 and 1.32.
Exactly.
Okay. $40 over 12 months on the average home. You know, roughly $3 and change a month. Remember, when the residents overwhelmingly, and I personally don't think it was overwhelming, supported the new school, they're willing to pay for it with that vote. If they didn't vote yes, those people that didn't, they didn't want to pay. But the people who voted for the new school, they voted to pay for it. So let's not tax businesses for what the residents voted for. You're already taxing them because, as you said earlier, businesses and commercial property tax, they're being charged that debt exclusion also at a greater rate. And I completely agree with Mr. Conti that at this point, the difference of $40 between a 1.34 and a 1.32 amounts to $3 and change a month. They wanted the new school, they want the improvements in the city. This has become a bedroom community. It's a bedroom community. I talked to a builder today that just sold a house for $710,000, and the people buying it put $90,000 worth of extras in it. So we're dealing with a different group of people. They're coming here because that $800,000 home closer to Boston is probably, Richard, $1.4 million, $1.5 million. They've come here for a reason they're willing to pay. Those are the people that voted for the new school. If you vote for it, pay for it. I totally agree with you, Richard. I won't personally support anything over 1.32.
Mark, do you have your hand up?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Council Waterman.
Yes, we have some people that are turning us into a bedroom community. We have many people who don't live as though this is a bedroom community. And I'm not just talking about elderly, who are going to get about a 1.5% increase or something like that in Social Security this year. We are a very mixed community. I once lived in Foxborough. I would call that a bedroom community, but I'm not sure we're all the way there yet. I'm pleased with what you're saying, Councilor Delizio. I was actually going to shoot for a 1.36 with a compromise of a 1.34. And if I knew that that would end up being the compromise, I would definitely support where you're going towards. And it's not just because I'm in the elderly category and I'm living on Social Security. Yes, we did vote for the new high school. There's a lot of people that didn't vote for the new high school, and I met many of them, and many of them have about as much hair as me. Well, the men. So I'm going to support Councilor Delizio on this.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Vice President Briggs?
Just briefly, so your motion is at 1.34.
Correct.
Just a couple of quick
Sure.
comments about that. It's interesting because last year when we were having this conversation, knowing that the debt exclusion was coming on, we were having our debates and our discussions over the split, and I offered the in-between number of 1.28, knowing that tonight we would be having this conversation a year later, and that we needed that space, that we would have had that space to make it a shift and have it have a higher impact, but we took that away last year. The other thing that I just, again, want to reiterate, and Julie, if I may, if I don't say this properly, please feel free to correct me, that the higher home values, with any of the shifts, the higher home values see the biggest amount of savings. So when we're having the conversation, Councilor Waterman's out having the conversations with individuals, and we talk about the debt exclusion. The people that we're fundamentally looking to try and help, we're trying to help all of our residents, but the most vulnerable in our community, regardless of what the split is, or if we go for a higher split, they don't see the same savings. I think that, I'm not 100% supportive of 1.34. I don't want to have a knockdown drag out here tonight over it. But I think what's important once we move past this vote is to really focus on those programs that can support the seniors that aren't going to see the savings that we're talking about tonight. That has to then become the focus. And to see, because the levy is the levy is the levy. And again, Julie said, no matter what happens, the pie is only one size. And if we cannot recoup that money from the commercial, it's coming out of the homeowner's pocket anyway. So I just wanted to, those are my thoughts with regards to this. You can move it out of your committee any way you want, and I think you did a really great job explaining it, and Julie, you did as well, so thank you.
Thank you for those comments. I was with you on the 1.28. I was, and, you know, any sort of huge jump is never a good thing, so. Councilor Dolan?
I feel like we did exactly the right thing last year. Obviously, you know, we had a lot of discussion about it. So I think we went absolutely in the right direction last year. But this year I would definitely support the 1.34 or even a 1.35.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilor Holmes and then Councilor Reynolds.
Thank you. I also am comfortable with either 1.35, I'm hoping for, but 1.34 I would be comfortable with, and thank you for the work.
Councilor Reynolds.
So, you know, I'd always like to see it go the opposite way, but I agree with Councilor Parika that the people that see the biggest savings are the people that are buying the $700 to $1 million homes, not so much the people that are in the average category. But I think we still, as councilors, should show them something, that we're doing something to make that a benefit, because for the person that's in the average homeowner savings, $20 or $40 may not seem a lot to somebody that's got a $700,000 home, but to somebody that's got an average home, that is a savings. That might be something that they really need. So I'm more in support of 1.335. I'd actually even like 1.36, but I mean, I like 1.35. And I think that it's really time that the city as a whole has to look at what they're spending. You know, we back into this budget of what we spend every year. That's how we get these numbers. We back into the budget. If I backed into the budget, I'd have a brand new car. I'd be driving around in a, 2019 Caddy or something, but I can't do that because I can't back into my own personal budget. And we shouldn't be doing that either. But that's what we do. These numbers come from finding a way to back into the budget to pay for things that maybe we don't really have the money for, but we're buying them. So, I mean, there has to be some leeway on both sides. I like the idea and would like to see it amended to 1.35. And I think the city ought to take a really good look at its budget and start to I mean, we actually have savings this year, free cash. A good free cash, which means we are already taxing people pretty well because we have a lot of free cash. And we're going to do that again and again. And I think there comes a time with all the fees that are going on and everything else that's increasing that we ought to give even the average homeowner something to, if you want to suggest, look forward to, because it's not really looking forward to it. But, enough is enough. You have to spend what you have, not what you want. You can't always have what you want. And that's my comments.
Councilor Jackson.
Thank you. Through the chair to Miss Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hi.
I just listened to Councilor Conti and Councilor Blair talk about the 1.32. What's your opinion on that? Like, how do you see the city if that's the way we were to vote, if that was to pass? What's your opinion on that?
So, I would say, how do I want to say this? Any jump either way is going to have a more minimal effect if you're only talking about 0.1. I'm sorry. I feel like there should be something. I know there's a big call for something to be done for the residential class. Either way, it's really your decision, and it's just how the levy is split up. It's I feel like 1.34 to 1.36 is where I would conservatively shift that way to help the residents without overburdening the commercial industrial. That's where I would go.
Thank you.
Councilor Blair.
Jay, have you thought at all about status quo this year? At the 1.33? See how we make out in July, and see how the residents take it when they really get the bill. Because I honestly don't think people out there know what's coming. 1.33 status quo, no big change for anybody.
I did, and I'll defer to Julie in a second, but I did, and that's ultimately what brought me to 1.34, because as you know, for the last 6 years, I voted to get it closer to where we need it to go.
I know, and
I'll
I
tell
know
you
that,
this,
Jay, and I appreciate that.
And I will say this again, I think it's important to get where we need to get, given everything coming down the pipe this year and next. And then in fiscal '22, I'd be looking to get it closer back to where, as Council Conchi was talking, as you were talking. But I think where we are right now in this snapshot in time, I think this is the way we need to be looking.
So you don't think the 1.33 is a feasible option? You're talking pennies either way at this point.
Yeah, I mean,
And it shows, in my opinion,
sure.
it shows businesses, as small as they are, as small as a portion, that we really care. You know, we put a burden on them, a tremendous burden with the new high school. You're not talking an average home of $340,000. What's the average business tax bill?
The average
Yeah.
is 900,000.
$900 million, and that's the average. So,
900,000.
yeah, that's the average. You're putting a big burden on businesses. And they're taking a hit just like the rest of the taxpayers for that new school. I think the 1.32 is a way to go. I would support a 1.33 status quo for this year and take a real hard look at it when the tax situation warrants it.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? First of all, thank everyone for this conversation. This is what we want. This is how things get done. I appreciate everyone's feedback. And Julie, thank you for all of your help. I think for your first tax classification, you kind of hit it out of the park. So thank you for your accessibility. Thank you for the work that you put into this and the numbers that you got us. So certainly appreciate your help.
Thank you all. Thank you.
All right, so that being said, we'll move to the vote of 1.34. So all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion passes. I would like to call for an adjournment at 7:37.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. And we are adjourned at 7:37.
Okay, I would like to call the Personnel and Human Services Committee to order at 7:37 as well. First order of business from the docket of November 19th, 2019. I would entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to allow the Attleboro Cultural Council to expend approximately $27,200 from the Massachusetts Cultural Council and any future grant amendments. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. This is pretty much in accordance with what we receive on an annual basis. And this money allows us to, we do not have any matching expenditures. So it allows us to accept a grant which finances a lot of different cultural activities around the city of Attleboro, in the schools, in the theater group that Jay and I have performed in. And I think it's a great idea. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Vote passes 3-0. Before I entertain the next motion, I would like to introduce Stephen Burdos, who is interested in becoming a member of the Council on Human Rights, and we thank you very much. You prefer Steve or Stephen?
Steve's fine, thank you.
Well, Steve, we appreciate your interest in serving the city. And just hoping that you might, first of all, give us your address and then share with us why this Council on Human Rights seems to be of interest to you.
Sure, I live at 24 Streeter Lane in Attleboro.
Thank you.
And I found out about the Council on Human Rights. I work for the Mass Rehab Commission in Taunton. and I've worked for that agency for about 3 years. And what we do is we help people that live in the Commonwealth with disabilities. We help them find employment. So in the process of doing outreach for my work, I came across the Council on Human Rights. And since I do a lot of advocacy at work for clients that identify as LGBTQ, this seemed like an appropriate match for my personal life to get involved with, to do some volunteering. The agency has an LGBTQ subcommittee that works on different initiatives like developing a non-discrimination policy for the agency and working with other state agencies to train our counselors to work on cultural competencies and things like that. So that's something I've been involved with on that subcommittee for about 1.5 years or so. So that's how I found out about the Council on Human Rights.
Well, I can tell you I was on the council myself, and it's a very valuable council within the city. And people of all walks of life might on occasion feel like their human rights are ignored, and they have an avenue for where they can go and share what their experiences being and get support.
Right.
And so I thank you for what you do for the state as well.
Thanks.
Is there anybody who would like to ask any questions of Stephen?
Yep, just me.
Please.
So is Steve your dad?
Oh, I'm sorry, what was
Is
that?
Stephen Burdos is your dad?
Peter.
Peter?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, tell him I said hi, I went to
I
school.
will. Thanks.
Any other thoughts or questions?
Easy.
That was a surprise.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate your,
Thank you.
thank you. So I would entertain now a motion to approve the appointment of Stephen Burdos, 24 Streeter Lane, fill an unexpired term on the Council on Human Rights, term to expire February of 2021. Is there any discussion here? Okay, barring none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Vote passes 3-0. And that concludes the business of the Personnel and Human Services Committee tonight. Call for the next committee meeting at the next appropriate time. We'll close at 7:43. Thank you.
So I'd like to call the Capital Improvement City Development Committee to order at 7:44. Sitting on this committee is the Vice Chair Dolan and Member Waterman. Tonight I have one motion to bring before you, but first I have 4 things to discuss with you because this is the only opportunity we get to chat. The first thing I'd like to talk about is that I will be contacting the mayor this week about energizing the new Capital Improvement City Development Fund to ask him to send down to the council a request for funding for the items that we have recommended on our resolution that have not already been funded. We spoke with Bill Lennox in the MIS, and he says that the main data switch is no longer $85,000, is now up over $100,000 because of changes in cyber threats to municipalities. And that's right at the top of our list, so I'm expecting to see that pretty soon. In the fire department, we've already funded the pressure ventilating fans and smoke ejectors and the protective equipment. I think we've also funded the respirator fit equipment, but if not, they should be funded. The Parks and Forestry Department has a chipper for $91,000. The zoo has a garage roof for $20,000. There's a fingerprint machine in the police department at $38,000. And there's a ranger in the recreation department at $42,000. So those are the items that I'll be asking him to consider sending down to the council for funding out of that $500,000 fund, because we've had a conversation about the floors, which is my next subject. Unless you want to talk about do you have any comments on the resolution?
I don't.
Do you have
No,
comments on it?
no, I think that's great.
So the floors are going to cost much more than $460,000, and they will not be coming out of the capital improvement fund. They'll be funded separately. And I will be attending a School Finance Committee Subcommittee meeting Wednesday at Hyman Fine, where the subject is strictly the floors. And they have 3 different options that they can go with, and the 3 options have 3 different lives, expected lives or estimated life, which has a big impact on the depreciation of, you know, how long those, how much value there is in replacing the floors. So I expect that discussion to be lively on Wednesday night, and you're welcome to attend. It's a public meeting, but they are they're considering roofs, floors that will last between 20 and 30 years, which is very positive. So that's moving forward, but we're not going to have a motion tonight to fund the floors because we haven't finished finalizing what exactly is.
Understood.
Okay, so. The third thing I want to discuss is about the dams. There was an item in the newspaper this week from the Associated Press about 100 dams in the state that were deemed inadequate, and Attleboro is on that list with the Manchester Reservoir. And I called Courtney today just to validate what my understanding was of that situation. And she did validate exactly what I thought. There was a series of dam studies that were done over the last 10 years whereby all the dams in the city were rated. And then in 2011, the state decided to change the criteria and change the standards of which they would rate dams. And they made the ratings much more stringent, much more difficult. And the type of dams that we have at the Manchester Reservoir, and there's 3 of them. One is the big dike on the south, and there's 2 dikes on the north and east. They're earthen dams with riprap, and they, at the time of construction in the 70s, that was an accepted way of building a reservoir retaining system. Since that time, Councilor Dolan, you and I were standing on the dike of Manchester Pond last year when we were witnessing animal burrowing and roots growing through the berms and a lack of riprap that should be there for the wave action. And I asked Courtney today whether or not any had action taken place since the time that you and I were there, and she said that the water department had been out to eliminate the smaller brush as they had time available, but they had not cut down any of the major trees. We talked about whether or not the Manchester Reservoir dam is safe, and she and I both agree that the Manchester Reservoir dams are safe. I asked her if the current level of the water in the Manchester Reservoir was drowned down on purpose because of a lack of safety of the berm, and she said no, that this is a typical action for this time of the year. They drain them for the wintertime, and then they let the springtime fill them back up again. This year it happens to be drained a little bit lower than normal because of things going on at Luther and the Wading River filter beds. So I want the residents of Attleboro to know that the Manchester Reservoir berms are not about to fail. They have been rated by the state as being inadequate and in need of repair. The state is not offering the city of Attleboro any money to do any repairs whatsoever. All of the other capital improvement items in the water department have been taken care of. All the urgent problems have been taken care of this year. So this dam engineering budget is going to be right at the forefront of next year's capital improvement plan. So it gets first action. Now, that will be a 2 or 3 year plan, because first you have to solicit engineering, then the engineers have to get awarded the job, then they have to do the engineering, then it has to go out for quotes, construction quotes, and then the construction has to take place. So we're probably 3 years away from corrective action on the reservoir, but neither the Commonwealth of Massachusetts organization that raised the dams, who have said that they're inadequate, doesn't mean that they're an imminent threat to human safety, think that that's going to be fine. Do you have any questions on dams?
Well, you just answered one of my questions, that it isn't an immediate human safety issue. Do you have any qualms about it 3 years out as being a problem.
I'd like to see it done sooner. If we could get the $250,000 through this year on free cash to get the engineering RFQ out, that would make me happier so that we would be actually doing construction in 2019. And that's a possibility.
I was trying to look for the article. I thought it had said more than inadequate.
Yeah, there's a couple of other dams in the city that are also rated inadequate.
Well, yeah, in this article that I read, it just talked about Do we know for certain that we can't get state money for anything regarding this? Do we know that for sure?
I guess that's a question for Jim Hawkins.
Okay.
But Courtney and I did not know of any funds available. Councilor Jackson?
Thank you. As you know, just recently, Farmers Pond Dam was just repaired.
Different department.
Right. Oh, no, I totally understand that. Thank you. Yep, they only have 3 dams that they're in charge of, the Public Works is. But the point is that the same thing, that was listed as dangerous, and now instead of being dangerous, it's just in a little bit of danger. It's the way that they categorize it, even though it's fixed, and they've come out and they've approved the repairs that we've done. It's still just, they have their own way of categorizing everything. I think I explained this too the last time. And we were very fortunate with Farmers Pond Dam that they actually paid for us to repair it, because most of the time, all they want to do is have you get rid of it.
Right.
That's what they would prefer to do, is just see you get rid of the dam, because to them, it's just a dam problem. And that's exactly what it is. So, yeah, hopefully we can get money once again from them to help us repair it. But we were very, very fortunate. We were high on the list to be able to get any monies to get this repaired a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to take the Manchester Reservoir berms down. That 3 to 6 million gallons of water that we have in that storage, and that's just a storage facility, get us through some dry summers. So I don't think getting rid of them is one of the things. And we did have these conversations, I think, last year when we were talking about the Dodgeville dam, whether or not that should be repaired because it was privately owned. So I will keep you abreast of any upcoming news on the Manchester Reservoir dams, and with that, I'd like to move on.
Well, I was just thinking before we move on, would it be helpful, in your opinion, if we invited Representative Hawkins and representatives from the Water Department and our committee to go down and take another look?
I would support that. I think an off-site meeting with Representative Hawkins and any other state officials would be in order. I'll put that to Courtney and see if she can make arrangements.
Thank you very much.
Does that sound good to you?
I've seen it,
I've seen it too.
and it's really cold out there.
Yeah. It's very cool. Okay, so from the docket of October 22nd, 2019, I entertain a motion to transfer money for MGT Consulting Group to complete a comprehensive central service cost allocation plan for indirect rates for water and wastewater enterprise funds, transferring the following: $2,400 from account 1141000-578300 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 112410000-530101 citywide professional services. Upon approval, the available balance in the reserve fund for transfer to include any pending requests will be $102,566.23. Also, $2,400 from account 6000-578300 wastewater enterprise fund reserve fund for transfer to account 6000-530101 wastewater enterprise fund professional services. Upon approval, the available balances in the reserve fund for transfer to include any pending requests will be $25,615.14. Also, $2,400 from account 6100-578300 water enterprise fund reserve fund for transfer to account 6100-530101 water enterprise fund professional services. Upon approval, the available balance in reserve fund for transfer to include any pending requests will be $47,600.
Second.
I heard Councilor Waterman first. Maybe because you're closer. So the pending balances for the reserve fund for transfer have obviously changed since the certification of free cash, and those were the rates at the time that the funding request was sent down from the mayor. Is there any discussion on the indirect cost study?
No, I don't have, I inquired into it.
Good.
I understand.
Good, you've both done some work.
Yes.
Excellent. We're prepared to vote then. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. That concludes the business I have before the committee this evening. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Declare Capital Improvement City Committee adjourned at 7:57. Thank you.
I'd like to call Public Works Committee to order at 7:56, and I do not have any business this evening, but I just wanted to make a reminder to all of my fellow councilors that we are having a site visit this Saturday, November 16th at 9 a.m. at the Public Works / Highway Yard, and that is to view the vehicles and the equipment that is before us for a public hearing. On the 19th, next Tuesday evening, that public hearing is to discuss purchasing new vehicles and equipment in the amount of $7,333,395. And again, that public hearing is scheduled for the 19th of November. So I hope all of you can join me. I promise you it will not last more than 1 hour on a Saturday morning.
Did you just say $7 million?
$7,333,309. I did say $7 million.
I was like,
Whoa, slow down, Kate. Woo!
The DPW just got very excited.
I bet they did. It's been a
that
long
includes the
time since
building
they've gotten
and the
any of
vehicles.
this. So I just wanted, just to remind you all of that. Thank you. And I call Public Works to adjournment at 7:57. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned at 7:57.
Yes, so I'm filling in for Council Clovis this evening, Zoning and Land Use Committee to order at 7:57. I have one motion this evening and one correction on it. From the docket of November 19th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to accept a grant of easement from Massachusetts Electric Company to install an underground electric distribution system associated with the construction of the new high school, as shown on a sketch entitled National Grid, Attleboro High School, 100 Rathdrum Bullard Drive, Attleboro, Massachusetts. Easement, date 2/29/2019.
Second.
Thank you. I am going to ask for an amendment. The date is actually February 20th, 2019.
Just the scribbles.
Are you comfortable with that? Okay. So everybody did receive this sketch, and this is, as we've seen, a lot of these motions just to kind of move the high school project along. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes, and I will move to adjourn at 7:58. All those in favor? Aye. We're done. Thank you.
So I will call Transportation and Traffic Committee to order at 7:58. I don't have any business to move forward, but I just wanted to give a couple of quick updates. We did have our Traffic Study Commission meeting on November 7th. We did have, I know that we all received a communication from residents down at Augsburg Lane. So they actually came out in force and we had some great conversation with regards to that. Mike Tyler was here from DPW, and we had a representative, Sergeant Blackwell was here from the police department. The Traffic Study Commission wanted to go and do a site visit to see if there's anything that they could come up with, and it will be discussed at our next meeting, which I believe is December 5th-ish. So, and I invite any of you to also take a ride out by Augsburg Lane, because you can see, if you're coming from the Norton side of things, you dropped down just in front of Augsburg Lane. And so I actually was out there picking up signs and I was taking a right onto Slater Street, and a car came up over the hill and was wailing on its horn. So that happened, and this is something that they live with. And so I'm looking forward to, again, we'll discuss it at the Traffic Study Commission meeting. I just want to make my committee members aware that we are working on that, and hopefully they'll be able to come up with some measures, whether it's a blinking light, whether it's painting on the roadway, some of those things. They did request a stop sign on Slater at Augsburg, similar to one in Rehoboth, and we kind of discussed how that is challenging. But again, the Traffic Study Commission meeting, Traffic Study Commission will be referring that back. I have a piece of new business coming in next week regarding the parking in front of Christopher Heights. So there are 3 parking spots out front there. They're not actually legal right now. And it was actually Christopher Heights who made the request to not have the parking, but we're going to be removing that. My new piece of business will be removing that. So that was something that I needed to talk to Councilor Waterman on, because we were talking about that previously. In addition to that, we did also receive a communication from a resident at Hitchcock. I believe, Councilor Jackson, you may have spoken with this resident as well. She did come to the Traffic Study Commission meeting with regards to some shrubbery and some things in that area that are difficult. Again, the Traffic Study Commission is going out to take a look at that, and I'll be able to get back to you on that the next time. We also, all last week in our communication, received a petition from the residents of Commerce Way. That was also brought to the Traffic Study Commission for their discussion, but I think I have the expectation that residents that sign the petition may come in front of my committee to kind of share with us what some of their comments were. The other thing too is that there's been a lot of discussion, and we talk about this on a regular basis out here, well, often. And we talked about it extensively, and the Traffic Study Commission made a recommendation which will translate into a communication coming through as well. There's a lot of discussion about the traffic light at Rathbun Willard and Thatcher Street. And they have made a recommendation that we delay the opening of Rathbun Willard Drive to through traffic until the proposed traffic light at that intersection at Rathbun and Thatcher has been installed, and that the Traffic Study Commission also would like to see that the city seek the appropriate funding for that, whether it's bonding, free cash, any of those kinds of things, because there's a large concern that the moment Rathbun Willard opens up, the difference in traffic patterns and the volume of people that'll be utilizing Rathbun Willard either to get to exit 3, any of those kinds of things. And if we don't have a traffic light, it's something Councilor Cooper and we have talked about ad nauseum. It's something that should be in the Traffic Study Commission's opinion, mine as well. It should be a priority to have that installed prior to opening the road, and unless that's installed, they do not support the opening of that road. If anyone has any questions or anything like that, then you have.
Excuse me. Thank you, Counselor. Have they gotten the numbers yet to approve the light there? I know they were having a difficult time getting the numbers, but have they gotten it yet?
Yes. So there is a full design plan, and they do have the numbers, and it's pricey. And to be honest with you, there was a lot of discussion about it being about $750,000, probably a little bit more, but we do have the hard plans. Now we've applied, so Mike Tyler has applied for city funding for the streets and lightways. The list is lengthy. Some of those smaller projects fall off, and we could move to the top of the list, but the projection on us moving to the top of the list to be able to kind of get some of that funding from the state is beyond the time where the road should be opened. So it's something that needs to seriously be addressed. It was part, when they were discussing the new school build and designing it and getting the approval through the MSBA, that was part and parcel to it. They didn't expand the scope and say we could have that be part of the funding for the high school, but it was part of the reason that we were approved for that. Yeah. So they've done everything that they can. They've exhausted every opportunity for us to be able to get funding, but it just goes beyond the time frame in which that road would be open. President Cooper.
Thank you. I believe, and I'd have to go back and look back, but I think when we had the neighborhood meeting with the residents of Green Drive and that area of Rathbun Willard at the high school with Castle Booze and others, municipal building, school building, I feel like there was a commitment made at that time to do that. So I think that we need to go back and revisit that commitment to making sure that intersection is properly signaled before the road is open. So I'm in full support of whatever we need to do to make that happen. And the discussion goes back to Council Viveras and, you know, Council Thibodeau talking about what to do at that intersection for far too long, and then it became, well, we'll fix the problem when we build the school, or we're there.
Right.
So, we gotta fix the problem.
That commitment, I was sitting next to you at that meeting, and that commitment was made. And I think, and it's I'll get right to you, Councilor Blair. One of the things that was part and parcel to the conversation is that the traffic counts that they were utilizing, they're kind of, it's a complete game changer. Where the parking lots are for the high school build, the manner in which the school buses will access that road, the residents of Green Drive and everywhere over there will now be coming up there to, you know, get to 95. I mean, there's no way to really, I mean, I'm sure that there are ways for them to encapsulate an actual true count. It's still a bit of a guesswork, but it's going to have a huge impact, and it just needs, that area just needs to be addressed, and it's just time for the light.
Heather, has anything been thought of, we supposedly saved $2 million by buying Highland for that parking lot and the construction of the high school, that $2 million's for overruns? Because if we don't use it, it goes back to the state, I was told later. What's the matter with the school coming up, the school project coming up with the money for that light? You get a $2 million slush fund, so we've been told.
So this light is outside of the scope of the high school build, and any of those funding, any savings that they reap, whether it, you know, putting the parking lot over there and having the storage area and things like that over there, it has to be put back into the actual build. There are things, because that's refunded money from the state, and so it wouldn't be, this light is outside the scope.
You're telling me that's outside of the scope, that light. How'd you get outside the scope?
So great question, and I don't have an answer for you
Thank
from that. However, in speaking with Mike Tyler from DPW, like, he just doesn't have the availability in his budget to make this happen, and not even close. So, right? Okay. So, you know, the part and parcel and core of the message that's being sent here is the encouragement to A, make it happen, and B, find the funding by any means necessary to get it done, because it's going to have a huge impact on the city. So, and if anyone has any questions, concerns, or anything that you want me to send over to the TSC, feel free to send an email through Virginia. And we do have a public hearing next week with regards to changing the parking over on First Street. And with that, I call for an adjournment at 8:08.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
I'd like to call the Licenses Committee to order at 8:08. Everybody ready?
Waive the reading of all of it. I'm just kidding.
So if you decide that you'd like to follow along, anybody that I skip, either I didn't get there or they're not in compliance. It's likely the latter. Anyway.
If you need some help reading, I'll help you.
Would you point out the difference?
Sure.
And, the first one you get to, I'll have some comments about. So let's do it that way.
How do you know you have comments if you don't know who it is?
I know who they are.
Okay. From the docket of November 19, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the following applications for 2020 automatic amusement devices. New England Authentic Eats LLC, DBA Papagenos at 103 Pleasant Street, Attleboro, Mass. For one coin-operated machine. Portuguese American Club at 65 Prairie Avenue, Attleboro, for one pool table and one jukebox. Demoulas Supermarkets, DBA Market Basket at 1200 Newport Ave, Attleboro, for one merry-go-round ride. JR's Bar and Grill, I think that's Junior's Bar and Grill, 147 Pine Street, Attleboro, for two pool tables and one jukebox. CEC Entertainment Inc., DBA Chuck E. Cheese, 287 Washington Street, for 11 video games and 49 skill kiddie rides.
Second.
Any questions?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. From the same docket of the 19th, I entertain a motion to approve the following 2020 Class 1 auto license renewals. JT Automotive LLC, DBA Kia of Attleboro, and/or Kia of South Attleboro, 795 Newport Avenue, Attleboro, for 46 customer parking spaces and 195 display spaces. The following two I'm holding because I didn't get there to those following two.
Okay. Second.
Thank you. Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Okay, I entertain a motion to approve the following applications for 2020 Class 2 auto license renewals. 100% Auto Wholesale LP, 21 Washington Street, Attleboro, Mass. For 10 customer parking spaces and 48 display spaces. Seacon Gas and Repair, Inc., DBA 123 Mobile, 300 County Street, Attleboro, for 4 customer parking spaces and 9 display spaces. Attleboro Collision Center, DBA KR Auto at 50 Falmouth Street, Attleboro, Mass. For 7 customer parking spaces and 9 display spaces. Best Buy Automotive and Tires, Inc., 92 through 931 Washington Street, Attleboro, for 8 customer parking spaces and 60 display spaces. Your Mechanic, Inc., DBA Better Auto, 473 Washington Street, Attleboro, 10 customer parking spaces and 4 display spaces. Cartown USA, 680 Washington Street, Attleboro, for 9 customer parking spaces and 20 display spaces. Classic Auto LLC, 1100 Oak Hill Avenue, Attleboro, for 5 customer parking spaces and 23 display spaces. The second one is County Auto Sales. I will be holding that.
Yeah, but once we get through the whole thing, I'll make some comments.
East Coast Auto Sales, Inc., 24 Rice Street, Attleboro, 14 customer parking spaces and 40 display spaces. Gas Bar, Inc., DBA J Motor Group, 1856 County Street, for 4 customer parking spaces, 20 display spaces. GMV, Inc., DBA Byrider, 957 Washington Street, 12 customer parking spaces, 50 display spaces. Greco's Auto, 83 Dickens Street, Attleboro, for 10 customer parking spaces and 31 display spaces. Greenlight Auto Sales, 650 Washington Street, for 10 customer parking spaces and 49 display spaces. Jeff Millett Auto Center, Inc., DBA GMAC, 30 Man Street, for 4 customer parking spaces and 23 display spaces. Landmark Auto Sales, 537 Washington Street, Attleboro, for 3 customer parking spaces and 15 display spaces. Landis Enterprise LLC, DBA Landis Family Auto Sales, 859 Washington Street, Attleboro, for 9 customer parking spaces and 27 display spaces. Mike's Automotive, 801 South Main Street, for 10 customer parking spaces and 15 display spaces. New England Automax, Inc., DBA Automax Pre-Owned, 800 Washington Street, 10 customer parking spaces and 100 display spaces. New England Cars, Inc., 923 Washington Street, 7 customer parking spaces, 33 display spaces. Next one is Old School. I'll be holding that. Mario Faria, DBA Pinecrest Motors, 2117 County Street, 5 customer parking spaces and 15 display spaces. Daniel Martinez, DBA R&D Auto Sales, 116 Dickens Street, 5 customer parking spaces and 8 display spaces. State Line Auto, Inc., 115 Washington Street, Attleboro, 6 customer parking spaces. This should say that it has a display, but it doesn't have the storage on this motion. Can I just read it as I know it?
Well, you should read it, get it second, and then amend it.
So do I have to read it separately?
No, I would just make a friendly amendment after it's seconded to add it to that particular vendor.
Okay. I just noticed that the display wasn't there. So State Line Auto Brokers, 1115 Washington Street, 6 customer parking spaces, 42 display spaces, 50.
No, so go through the rest of the motions here, second the whole thing.
Got it.
Then make the friendly amendment.
Got it. Route 123 Auto Sales, Inc., 1076 Pleasant Street, 15 customer parking spaces, 15 display spaces. The next one, I'll be holding because I didn't get there, and that's Vashon Motor Company. So moving on from the same docket of November 19th, I entertain a motion to approve the 2020 class, oh wait, I need a second for those.
Second.
Thank you. So I'd like to make a friendly amendment on State Line Auto to add 55 display spaces, which is what their license states, it just wasn't on here.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. From the docket of November 19th, 2009, what's that?
So you didn't
Those
vote
were
all of them?
class
You
two.
just voted the amendment of the 55. You didn't vote all of them, and you didn't ask anybody for comments, and I'm anxiously waiting to hear mine.
Okay, so we have a second. We voted on the friendly amendment, so now I need a second for all of them?
Oh, you got that.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye. Comments?
Comments.
Okay, does anybody have any comments?
I do.
Okay.
So the two that you're holding, that you didn't say you weren't able to get there, that it was a compliance issue?
Which one, the compliance ones?
Yep. So I'm assuming that's County Auto and
County,
David
Old
Montenegro?
School. Yes.
So.
No, county, yeah,
Yes.
David, yes, go ahead.
So what I would like to request of the committee is to have a committee meeting next week before the full council meeting to give an update on what's gone on with these two. And if they don't, we will not approve it, and we should make a motion at that time to rescind. This is ridiculous. Having to go back, and you, as the chair of the committee, have to go back to these dealerships 3 and 4 times and call me 3 and 4 times about what we should do, and have to call the building inspector 3 or 4 times what we have to do to get them to be compliant is absolutely ridiculous. So, having said that, the two that are remaining, because they're not compliant, when they sent in an application to the council, and they knew that you do your due diligence and you would be there counting cars, and they're still non-compliant, to me is completely and utterly unacceptable. And this is not about being unfriendly to business, because Councilor Dolan, you've gone way overboard in terms of making sure and encouraging compliance with the application. And we have had many times individuals come before this body to amend them when they needed to and when they've had the space. So if they're not compliant, I say vote it out next week and vote them either up or vote them down, because enough is enough. And that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any comments?
I'm in agreement.
Same.
Well, yeah, me too. And Old School, I thought was one of my success stories. I worked really hard on that one, and,
But it's a renewal. They should know better.
I know, and
It's not a new license, it's a renewal, so slap them on
well,
the
he
wrist.
amended it. He did everything he needed. He got a new engineered site plan. He amended the license. I went by and he had all his lemon law stickers in the window, and I was like, and then I'm like counting and counting and counting, and
You shouldn't have to do that.
and that's exactly what I say when I'm there. I'm like, I'm coming. Like, you put in your application, I'm coming.
You already
And then plus when I go down Route 1, they all call each other. So they all basically meet me at the door when I start going down Route 1. Anyway,
Tell them, Laura Dolan, and I mean business.
listen, I trust
Just
me.
do what we asked them.
I know. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And I just have a couple more. From the docket of November 19th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the 2020 Class 3 auto license renewal application from Marcus Vitale, DBA Greco's Auto on 83 Dickens Street, Attleboro, for 10 customer parking spaces and 31 display spaces.
Second.
Any questions?
Nope.
I just have a comment.
Yeah.
Of course.
So I have to say, I think Marcus is a success story, because I almost gave that poor kid a heart attack when I showed up in my
No, that
truck
was
in the
me.
bow tie and said, I'm here to count cars. The poor kid, I felt so bad for him, because he was so nervous. He's like, I got everything right. She was here earlier today counting. I said, well, I'm gonna count. they just, you just have to do it. If you need more space, or you got a different configuration of your lot, just let us know. We're not saying no to that if you've got the space and the building inspector signs off. But you gotta keep what you have there under your license, and I think this is don't prove me wrong, Marcus.
Yeah,
I hope this is
well-
this is a success story. And you
For
did what
now,
you're
I hope
supposed to
so.
do.
But I have more leverage now because I know his dad,
Oh, good.
so, and I know how to reach him.
Good.
And so, anyway, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. From the docket of October 22nd, 2019, I entertain motion to approve the Class 2 application from Wathek Obaid of 196 Commonwealth Avenue, Attleboro Falls, for Automaze Inc. at 885 Washington Street, with 7 customer parking spaces and 3 display spaces.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. From the docket of October 22nd, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the Class 2 application from Wathek Obaid of 196 Commonwealth Avenue, Attleboro Falls, for Automaze 2, Inc. at, wait a minute. Now I have on here it's written with the wrong address, because they're not both at 885 Washington. I'm sorry, guys.
You need it, I have it right there.
Because Automaze 2 is the old Looney Tune.
Yep.
I apologize, 826, we have it.
Perfect.
My apologies. That's 826 Washington Street. 11 customer parking spaces and 34 display spaces.
Second.
Any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. From the docket of October 22nd, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the Class 2 application from John Albert, 98 Mendon Road, Attleboro, for Cam's Automotive Services, DBA Paris Auto Body at 21 Chartier Street, with 9 customer spaces and 20 display spaces.
Second.
Anyone have any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And that's all I have for licenses tonight. I'd like to call for adjournment at 8:23. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
Before I start, I'd like to admit all the numbers, all the VIN numbers and whatnot. Wait a minute, no, I didn't, that's all right, thank you. I'd like to call the City Property and Claims Committee to order at 8:23. Members present are myself, Council Blair, and Councilor Holmes. On the docket of November 19th, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor in accordance with Chapter 1, Section 12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to allow the Health Department to expend approximately $36,000 from the Sustainable Materials Recovery Program municipal grant from the Mass Department of Environmental Protection and any future grant amendments. I entertain a motion to wait a minute. Thank you. Any questions or concerns? No. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Also from the docket of November 19th, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro to accept the donation of an iPad with an estimated value of $614 for MDAP at the high school from the Lions Club.
Second.
Thank you. Again, any concerns, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Also from November 19th, the docket, I entertain a motion to declare the following Attleboro Public Library items as surplus and available for disposition. 1 wooden lectern, and the value is $4, worth $20.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
That motion passes. From the docket of October 22nd, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the generous donation from the DAB Chapter 91 to the Veterans Office of $300 in Stop and Shop gift cards in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, that motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the generous donation of 28 gallons of exterior paint with a total value of approximately $1,500 from Sherwin-Williams Paints in accordance with Section 1-12 of the revised ordinances of the City of Attleboro. I'm sure I didn't read these some other time.
I don't think so. You weren't here.
I know, but
That's awful familiar.
it's very familiar, all of them. I'm confused. I'll read them again, though, but we're here, I'll do it, but I'm pretty sure, okay, thank you. Any questions, concerns?
I agree. I think that we talked about like how it was gonna be
And the
used different.
microburst, I'm a little disoriented here, but I will read them, and the same thing with, these things here,
Councilor Johnson saying
So
Sorry.
Sarah, I'm just gonna make a suggestion, just read them,
Read them.
yeah, that's right.
and then go back and check in the book and check your minutes.
Yes,
from
that's
your
what I was
committee
gonna do
meetings.
after, but I thought I'm
Yeah.
here, I might as well read them, but they're sounding like ridiculously familiar. I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to transfer $7,000 from account 1124-1000-578-300 citywide reserve fund for transfer to account 1650-1000-513000 park overtime to replenish funds expended during the August 2019 microburst.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Also from the docket of October 22nd, 2019, I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to declare the following Department of Public Works vehicles as surplus and available for disposition. A 1988 International S1600, VIN number 1, HTLAZRM6JH568781. It's got 158,080 miles. It's in very poor condition. A 1993 Ford F700, VIN number 1FDXK74CX PVA32064. It's got 105,881 miles on it, also in very poor condition. Thank you. Any concerns, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes. I entertain a motion to approve the request of the mayor to declare the following fire department items as surplus and available for disposition. One Canon Image Runner 2105. The serial number is NPR 10116. The manufacturing date was 2000. The condition is poor.
Second.
A
I'm sorry.
Canon Image Runner 2200, serial number MPG 24637, manufacture date 2002, poor condition. A Ricoh MP 2852, serial number W422L601819, manufacture date unknown, poor condition. And a positive pressure ventilation fan Supervac model number 720041, GX-160 Honda, 5.5 horsepower, no serial number, 1994 manufacture date, and it's a poor safety hazard.
Second.
Thank you. Any questions, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, that motion passes. And that is all the business that the City Property and Claims Committee has this evening. I will check to make sure, but I'm pretty sure I read some of those into the minutes some time ago. I remember them all.
I think what happened was, last week, you had brought those out of committee the week before.
Yes.
Last week, you didn't bring any business forward, you weren't here.
That's right, but they're already in. I didn't
I
need to
think
read them
they're already
tonight.
out of committee.
I agree, I think they are.
that's what happened.
Because they all sound familiar, but nonetheless, I would like to close out at 8:29.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
And so we are at time adjourned at 8:29. Thank you.
Ordinance elections and legislative matters has no business this evening. Call for committee meeting, 2 weeks. Thank you.
Public Works Emergency Management has no business this evening.
So
Excuse me?
Special Committee on Council Rules, and the other one, Special Committee on Tax Evasion.
The Special Committee on Council Rules and Procedures canceled this evening.
Special Committee for Tax Abatement Review. Next week, we have 3 public hearings. Looking forward to it, and that concludes the business for this evening.
Great. Give everybody a minute, or we're ready to go?
There you go.
Let's do it.
We started, that's when mine ended.
7:44.
I don't know what he's.
I have an iPhone for work and I hate it.
I just got
See what you think.
This is the 11.
Oh, really? Camera's supposed to be fantastic.
This isn't the $1,000. It's 211s,
Yeah.
one that's, I don't have the,
The big one.
what's the one that's the 3 lenses? I don't have that one. I have a 7. I feel like I can hear paper. Like I feel like the mic's
Me
really
too.
sensitive.
Okay. Call the council back to order at 8:33. We're gonna move right to committee reports. We're only, the only committee reporting this evening is the Budget and Appropriations Committee. I recognize Councilor Delicio.
Thank you, President Cooper. Reporting for budget and appropriations from the docket of October 15th, 2019, I move to adopt a dual system of classification of real estate taxation in accordance with the appropriate general laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Second.
Thank you. Motion motion is in order. Any questions or comments?
None, we just discussed this.
Great. Any other additional comments or questions? Hearing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Conti?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
I have a question here for a minute. Are we amending to the 1.34?
No, we're just voting for dual
Just to bring it out?
Just the
Okay,
dual
thank you,
tax
I'm
rate.
sorry, my
That's
brain is,
Not the number.
okay, thank
It's a
you.
dual rate.
Is that a
Yes.
yes?
Have a dual.
Yes,
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes,
10 yeas, 0 nays.
thank you, motion passes.
Thank you. From the docket of October 15th, 2019, I entertain a motion to adopt a classification factor of 1.34% for fiscal year 2020.
Second.
Thank you, motion is in order. Any comments, Councilor Delicio? Any additional questions or comments? So Councilor Reynolds first, and then Councilor Conti.
Okay, I just want to be sure of when I can ask for an amend. I'd like to amend to a 1.36.
Second.
1.36.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is on the amendment to 1.36. Any questions or comments to the amendment of 136? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
No.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
No.
Mr. Delicio?
No.
Vice President Perica?
No.
Mr. Conti?
No.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
No.
President Cooper?
No.
3 yeas, 7 nays.
Motion fails. We are back to the 1.34. Councilor Conti.
Mr. President, I make a motion to amend the 1.34 to 1.32.
Second.
Motion is in order at 1.32. Any questions or comments about 1.32? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required for the amendment of 132, and we'll begin with Councilor Jackson.
Ms. Jackson?
No.
Mr. Waterman?
No.
Mr. Conti?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
No.
Mr. Delicio?
No.
Mrs. Dolan?
No.
Ms. Reynolds?
No.
Ms. Holmes?
No.
Mr. Blair?
Yes.
President Cooper?
No.
2 yeas, 8 nays.
Motion fails. We are back to 1.34. Councilor Waterman.
I would like to make an amendment at 1.35.
Second.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Motion is in order with the amendment at 1.35. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Blair.
Mr. Blair?
No.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
No.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
President Cooper?
Yes.
That is 8 yeas, 2 nays.
Motion passes. So the motion as amended at 1.35. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, a roll call vote is required, and we'll begin with Councilor Jackson.
Yes. Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Waterman?
Yes.
Mr. Conti?
No.
Vice President Perica?
Yes.
Mr. Delicio?
Yes.
Ms. Dolan?
Yes.
Ms. Reynolds?
Yes.
Ms. Holmes?
Yes.
Mr. Blair?
No.
President Cooper?
Yes.
8 yeas, 2 nays.
Motion passes.
That is all the business for budget and appropriations.
Committee meeting next. All right, there is no old business, there is no new business. You'll all be getting a notice from me regarding acting mayor. I'm just working on the details with the mayor to find out when that, exactly what that timeline will be. We'll get that, there's 2 dates, there's 2 periods of time in November that the Vice President Cooper will be the acting president, but I'll get that to you as soon as I work out the details. At this time, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Oh, wait a minute. Wait just a minute. So,
Uh-oh.
today,
Almost get out of here.
you almost got out of here, and then I remembered. Today is Councilor Holmes' 40th.
He announces the age and everything.
Listen, she was in the paper, her birthday's in the paper, and everybody waiting at home, I'm on my way. for the cake. We'll see you in 5 minutes or less. Be ready. Happy birthday.
Happy
Get home.
birthday.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned 8:39. Thank you.
The only thing I didn't bring up during my transportation and traffic, we haven't gotten a communication about the seasonal